This company didn't really survive Corona.
It was a huge challenge that I was faced with somehow.
I believe I ended up losing my entire sales team within a span of around 6 weeks.
We burned through quite a lot of money, and because we weren't profitable, we had to declare insolvency in early 2023.
Who can you turn to in times of a difficult challenge that requires a conversation?
I am completely screwed.
Until my body told me, time out. I'm Alex Jacoby, founder of With Love and Data, execution-oriented visionary, and I am happy and unhappy. My whole life has been spent navigating this tension between technology on one hand and creativity and art on the other. On one side, I am the only one in my family without a doctorate or academic background who nearly studied theoretical physics, and working creatively for a long time as a music producer on one side and simultaneously managing an agency on the other side. And this very tension between technology on one side and creativity on the other is what truly captivates me. For me, this is what I term the creative cyborg. This deep symbiosis between art, technology, human, and machine that truly grips me. And yeah, I am one of the 2 co-founders of With Love and Data, and I am fortunate to build this company together with my co-founder Matthias, whom I also met at Entrepreneurs Organization, for 713 days.
Hi, I'm Rebecca from the brand No Moo, so no moo like ice cream without moo. It's an ice cream made from plant-based ingredients. Super intense flavor, very creamy, natural ingredients, 30% less sugar, and launched sustainably during my studies in 2016. In Cologne in a small commercial kitchen. Great garage feel, made at night, sold to cafes and restaurants during the day. Yes, I began when I was 20, and I've been running this for several years now. EO has been part of my journey for approximately 4 years.
Hi, I'm Yasso. I'm the founder of Ampido, and we at Ampido facilitate the multiple use of private parking spaces, especially in German city centers. The idea of Ampido emerged after the demolition of the student parking facility at the University of Cologne, leading to a sudden parking crisis that required immediate attention. And so the idea came up, can't we implement this like a kind of Airbnb for parking spaces? We then created a small web version and relatively quickly got the first investors, which meant things got going incredibly fast. And then it took quite a long time until we were able to grow profitably with our business model, until we could finally achieve that flow state.
Hello, I'm Lorenz. I am one of the founders of Naughty Nuts. So our focus is on nuts, and we make many delicious products packed with nuts. We made it our mission to develop products that are extremely tasty while consistently improving upon current offerings. That means no refined sugar, no palm oil, organic and vegan, and full of flavor. Yes, we founded Naughty Nuts almost exactly 4 years ago, a little more than 4 years ago, together directly with our business angels who were involved right from day zero. And the idea ultimately came about because on the one hand, we saw that nut butter was sitting somewhere behind the shelf in the organic supermarket, totally dusty as a product category, no innovations in it. And on the other side, consumers enjoy incorporating it into bowls of porridge, embracing a lifestyle that includes this versatile product. And that's why we said, we need to build a brand around nut butter that picks up on that lifestyle-oriented target group, that's colorful, that's bright, and that brings in innovation.
The idea came out of a crisis like many good ones. Previously, I ran an agency specializing in audio production, which was already very technologically focused and driven by AI. We were one of the largest producers of voiceovers for the advertising industry in Germany, and I have been working very specifically on the topic of AI since 2016. At that time, I attempted to develop AI models capable of predicting how market research data could be utilized to determine how music in a commercial can be better assessed independently of my personal taste, so that I gain an understanding of what happens to the impact of my advertising when I listen to specific music genres. So, a technologically and creatively mixed use case. And this company didn't really survive the pandemic. the idea simply arrived. When I received my GPT-4 key, along with my co-founder Matthias, who had also sold his company during the pandemic, and we experienced that singular stroke of luck in life where pivotal moments occur and you have the availability of time. For us, that moment was the emergence of GPT-4. My initial reaction was, oh wow, everything on my presentation slides is going to function correctly. When we started as a team of 2, we asked ourselves the question, how can we build a really good product? In my opinion, a truly great product is created through personal use, not just from theoretical concepts, but from actual hands-on experience. It's essential to actively use what you are building in order to make it the best it can be. We adopted the motto back then, 2 guys, 98 assistants, because we reasoned that if we assert we are creating a new world of execution using the AI model, then we must experience it firsthand and take action on our own. And the exciting thing is, to date, there are still just the 2 of us. For example, we have been working for clients like Henkel for over a year now. So, together with an agency, Fate, we are adapting the worldwide communication of a brand like Terrason to our model. This means we haven't just started building AI tools for our clients externally, but also internally. Instead of hastily recruiting employees and taking funds, we decided to test our own beliefs by holding off. Let's see how successful we can be with true dedication to our principles. I have a relatively strong LinkedIn profile. I am a top voice on LinkedIn, and I got this public presence for AI content with AI content that doesn't feel like AI content, because it talks like me. And we do the same in the product development process or in the software process. That means we consistently write our software using AI models. We're willing to extend ourselves to the point where, should an AI model make an error, we no longer correct the error manually, but instead consider how we must instruct the model so that it no longer makes a mistake. That means we change our briefing instead of correcting the result. That is a very, very central realization when working with AI. The skill you need for that is a centuries-old human skill. It's called delegating. I have to express what my motivation is and what I want.
I had already known my co-founders prior to the conception of the idea. My co-founder, the CTO, and I completed our apprenticeship together at that time. At that time, I promised that if I ever have a business idea, I would involve him. And that's exactly what happened when I reached out to him and he was interested in collaborating. I attended university with my other co-founder. Thus, the 3 of us essentially initiated the entire venture started up. I've been in almost every garage in Cologne myself. I can really say that. And what we also saw, every garage is about 40 to 50% empty. If every private person shares their parking space, then you can achieve that hockey stick curve that we also used to approach investors with back then. That's why we tried for a very, very long time to crack this with the private model. But we didn't manage that. We had to admit that to ourselves at some point. What we did have, though, were users already searching for parking spaces and statistics on which parking spaces and locations were performing well. The change we made was to shift our focus to collaborating with experienced property owners to enhance our work efficiency, or from whom we rented parking spaces and who then sublet them flexibly. And the model works, and we have actually been growing very successfully with it for several years now.
Yes, my co-founder Jan watched a documentary on Netflix, Cowspiracy, which essentially shows that livestock farming and agriculture are the #1 drivers of climate change. Accordingly, it was clear to Jan, okay, I immediately want to go vegan after the documentary. But after 2 weeks, in 2016, vegan products really didn't taste good. And that was kind of the point where it was clear, okay, we need more plant-based products, but they just have to taste good. I also really wanted to start a company at that time, was super keen, and that's ultimately how the idea arose, just to look in the supermarket to see what can actually be made plant-based without removing the taste. And then we quickly landed on ice cream with that, developed a lot. So first we thought, okay, what is actually an ice cream? Cow's milk, eggs, cream. All right, let's substitute the cow's milk with coconut milk. But then realized, okay, that tastes completely like coconut, so accordingly, add more mangoes, more berries, more cocoa to hide the coconut flavor. The beginning was relatively easy. We went shopping at Rhine-Ruhr or Edeka and then produced it ourselves. In 1 hour, about 5 liters of ice cream machine capacity yielded about 40 small cups. We then sold that to restaurants in Cologne, also delivering it ourselves with thermal boxes. So that was all still easy. We actually did that for 3 semesters during our studies. Challenge #1 was, of course, a lack of network and also not knowing at all how you can even get into a supermarket. The founder of Just Spices then advised me, saying, look, at Ruhr or Edeka, there are independent local merchants. whose stores feature their surname, and these individuals have autonomy over approximately 20% of the product range regarding new entries. That allowed us to establish a small presence and demonstrate initial sales traction. Essentially, it was more about offering opportunities to young entrepreneurs here in Cologne. They enjoyed the product, perceived us as motivated and engaging, and they educated us on the specifics of their department and their roles, saying, let's do it. I'll handle the setup, and you can conduct the tastings. This involved visiting supermarkets on weekends, standing near shelves, approaching shoppers to inquire about their preferences, and then ask them, would you like to try an ice cream? Told our story again, everything we could, and then people bought. The great taste led to word of mouth spreading, prompting them to make another purchase.
Reflecting back on the first 2 years, they seemed to pass by incredibly quickly, almost like a blur of excitement. We experienced substantial growth and successfully secured funding in 2 rounds within that period. Revenue growth in particular, but not on the profitability side. That means we burned through quite a lot of money. And that consequence then fell right upon us. And due to the fact that we were not generating profit, we had to file for insolvency early in 2023. And yes, then on the very day we filed, gathering the entire team, calling everyone into the office was the most difficult moment. To stand before them and announce, listen, we were forced to declare bankruptcy. It was, I think, very, very surprising for the team. They didn't really expect it. We expected anything but that. The months, 2-3 months afterwards, after filing for insolvency, were then, well, anything but good. Very, very uncertain, a very uncertain time. I mean, we were around our middle of our 20s, early to mid-20s, and naturally, it is incredibly hard to lead experienced individuals, someone who perhaps already has 10, 15 years of work experience, and tell them, hey, this is the way to go.
Am I coming across as overly friendly or too relaxed right now? Maybe I'm being too strict? How are others actually perceiving me? During my time at Nomu, I often felt like I was pretending to be someone I'm not. My role has always been clear to me. I am the energy giver, the motivator. Even if I am personally struggling, I still come into the office smiling and radiating positivity, but I did feel that I was unable to share my own issues, and I often felt quite isolated as a result.
I would say that every 3 or 4 years, there is consistently a very significant challenge that arises. We started this as a founding team of 3, and then after 4 or 5 years, we realized that as the founding team, we actually needed to restructure ourselves. We must state clearly that we were no longer functioning effectively as a founding team. That is a very, very intense challenge, in my opinion, because with whom can you discuss these matters? You cannot discuss them with your employees. You can talk to your wife or your mother, but they possess their own separate objectives. They are completely biased, so to speak.
Many people like us, who are entrepreneurs, have an incredibly thick layer of concrete around them. We are very practiced in communication. We know how to address customers, investors, and staff even when the situation is dire. Even setting aside your personal concerns. Positioned slightly towards the back to offer comfort and assurance to those around. And then came Corona. Then Corona came, and Alex, who said smart or even unwise things on keynote stages, suddenly finds himself confined to his home office, transforming from a frequent flyer into a guy who works on his laptop in his pajamas. And every entrepreneur knows the problem, that in one's direct social circle, due to one's rather peculiar profession, one finds relatively little exchange. If you have a payroll that is 6 figures and you pay 1 customer and you don't know how you're going to pay your 40 salaries, that is a problem. None of my friends could help me with that because those are simply not the problems they solve in their lives. And I always have a thirst for exchange at that point, and that exchange was gone. And then I really heard someone on a podcast talking about EO. And somehow it clicked and I thought, wow, that's really cool. Wow, that's exactly what I'm missing. Then, in a completely silly move, I visited the website, checked it out, and honestly thought, whatever strange person is running this, I'll be questioned intensely, but oh well.
When we first launched Ampilo, we didn't face many significant challenges that would have required outside support. But my mentor probably already saw, that as an entrepreneur you need more than just spirit. And presumably he noticed something I hadn't yet recognized and told me, hey, here is something, maybe you should take a look at this.
Cronex motivated me to found. And one day he wrote to me again saying, Rebecca, you should really check out EO, it benefited me immensely. For me, Philip was the idol anyway, which means if he says I should go to EO, of course I'll check it out.
We then reached the point where we expressed our desire to enact change. Found a new company, extract the assets from the insolvent company, and rebuild the whole thing with the experience we gained, especially through the difficult phase. Rebuild it. But we also said, if we do this, we were in search of a strategic partner to help rebuild Naughty Nuts, And eventually, we found the perfect match to bring on board to collaborate on this endeavor. When we actually founded it, our business angels also said, half as a joke, half seriously, if you receive our investment, you are also expected to become a member of EO.
I joined in March 2021 and immediately went all in, meaning directly into the newly established forum, straight onto the board, and I fully engaged with it from the very beginning. Because EO is not just a forum, but also what you make of it and what network you take with you. I always explain the forum with a bit of a wink, suggesting it's like your personal support group. A forum typically comprises about 6 to 8, perhaps 9 individuals. They meet monthly, and it is quite a commitment. You get 1 free pass annually. For the retreat, there isn't really a free pass. That's an additional 4-day trip you all take together. Extremely confidential. What happens or is discussed in the forum stays in the forum. It's about to open up completely and present oneself as very vulnerable, and then it becomes a form of experience sharing focused on specific subjects. And this is incredibly helpful because every single person is able to contribute at any time, allowing you to absorb so many lessons from the collective experiences in mere moments. It's truly something. The forum is EO's core.
I first heard about EO through a podcast, so I decided to attend one of their EO Insight events, and that's when I truly grasped that the combined force of 20,000 people pursuing similar goals, forming a highly diverse group, combined with these somewhat peculiar traditions and values, specifically the mandate to only speak from one's own lived experience, to always act with great awareness and absolutely refrain from judgment, which I considered immensely valuable, and realizing that the concerns weighing on my mind were just the standard anxieties every business owner faces. Suddenly, I understood I could voice them and that solutions existed for my issues. Upon this realization, it was completely clear to me that I had to go this journey, and it is the most exciting learning journey of my life.
My very first experience with EO was attending my first Accelerator forum. I showed up without any prior research, simply because my mentor suggested I look into it, so I attended. And the very first exercise after you introduced yourself was already the lifeline. It's about really stating what the highs and lows of his life were. And fittingly, as an example for us all, our Accelerator coach began the process. We didn't know each other, and he starts and really tells the real peaks and valleys he experienced throughout his life. It was essentially get naked fast, but delivered with full intensity. We all sat there absorbing this and thinking to ourselves, okay, intense. Just intense that you can talk so honestly, even if you don't know each other.
So, regarding the get naked fast concept, one person must initiate the process, and that creates an unbelievable bond. You just have a deeper connection, and I noticed that not only in the forum, but also in my private circle. When I go first, show myself more vulnerable, then suddenly I get something back too, then other people share their stories and also display a degree of vulnerability, because ultimately this is all about self-preservation, and once you manage to break down those walls, ultimately then far more profound human connections become achievable.
And then it was our turn, and that was very enlightening almost for me, to see every one of us then really presented the highlights and lowlights of their entire life in one lifeline. I hadn't known anything like that before. And that is totally relieving at first, and I think also totally refreshing for many people.
Then after a year in the Accelerator, I also switched to the full membership at EO, which meant moving into a different forum. My progression within EO always unfolded for me in a gradual, step-by-step manner. That means at the beginning, somewhere just diving in, getting to know the first people, getting to know your own forum at all first, maybe getting to know 1 or 2 people who are involved in the organization, up to then the full member forum. Then, a year later, I took the further step of joining the board to actively participate and contribute to EO, and also shape what works there, because EO has simply given me so much. And I initially entered with the approach, cool, I want to be involved there somehow, I want to see more of what else is possible there.
2022 was the most difficult year for Nomo so far. It was actually a step backward. While purchasing power was high during Corona, suddenly it went. Ukraine war and then inflation. No investors want to finance anymore. Everyone became uncertain. Raw materials explode. Energy, which is a major concern for ice cream, exploded in price. And we weren't experienced enough to know what this now means for us. We had a first situation in May, where on Friday I didn't know if I had to file for insolvency. On Monday I thought, I really want to get out of my skin. So really like crying and thinking, I am really screwed right now. And then someone from my forum says, he's not failing. Then I thought, well, that's wonderful for you. I'm glad you aren't failing, unlike what seems to be my current situation. Then he says, no, seriously, I never fail because the word, it doesn't exist in my vocabulary. I have completely replaced failure with learning. And that flipped a switch in me that I thought, intense. No matter how this turns out now, I'm somehow 26. I've experienced so much debt entrepreneurially, no one can top that now. Then I'll get back up and do something new, so. Then I simply changed that perspective. And then it was like, okay, I'm not failing, I'm learning.
Eventually, I discovered that 4 out of the 7 people in my forum had previously run a business into the ground. Then someone remarked, dude, if you've never driven a company into the ground, you're not really an entrepreneur, you haven't dared enough and you're a coward. And suddenly it boomed like that. And I really noticed like this. What value is in this vulnerability simply saying, hey guys, this is happening right now and I'm ashamed to death and I'm so unhappy about it. And to realize that it is actually quite normal. That it is an inherent part of taking risks.
At EO, we have those comprehensive Accelerator learning days where I acquired significant practical skills and then within the forum absorbed many experiences from other entrepreneurs and they integrated into daily life somehow, and they also managed to have the right tool or the right experience in certain situations that I can then fall back on.
A real exchange is only valuable for me when it is real and when it is deep and when it is honest. I have actually learned a great deal because I was also a coach in an accelerator, and I perceived it as incredibly valuable. These super smart young individuals to mentor and support, and to see how fast they scale their businesses. I always think they are way more intense than I was, and especially to have that perspective where I see them as a coach, what are they doing? And in the second realize, oh my God, you did that exactly the same way.
I entered the Accelerator in the first year of my founding, and the Accelerator program stipulates bringing the founders to a revenue of 1 million euros as quickly as possible, so within the first 3 years, to then move into a normal forum. Accordingly, the topics are also oriented more towards the early stages, and it helped me to acquire the necessary expertise to translate this entire concept into a legitimate company and a tangible product.
Then a few things worked. Kaufland national listing came, 770 supermarkets, Tegot joined, something big at Edeka, just like that. So you were actually at the end and suddenly you rise up like the phoenix from the ashes, and then in 2023 we made almost the same revenue as in 2022. It was quite a journey, and now I feel somewhat like, well, perhaps we prevented insolvency several times in the year 2022. It can't get much worse. Now we can solve everything.
In the Accelerator, there are the learning days, 4 per year. I truly found it incredibly beneficial. I attended all of them. I went back to revisit some of those experiences, and you take a few more pieces of information with you.
We have the People's Day once. This primarily involves deep contemplation on the subject. Which individuals should be part of my organization, and how can I effectively foster their growth? What perspectives can I offer? On the subject of strategy. This is about where I want to be in 5, 8, or 10 years. Really having a long-term view, because in the day-to-day operational business, it can quickly disappear. And to deliberate on which specific aspects among just 3 or 4 key areas I truly aspire to achieve world-class status in. And that is a very uncomfortable question, because you are actually saying no to many things. Okay, I won't do that. Regarding execution, the focus is on, all right, you have a strategy, but how do you put it into practice within your daily and quarterly cycles? One might possess the finest concepts or the grandest visions, but if you don't bring it to the street, then it amounts to nothing. Furthermore, concerning cash, there is the concept known as the power of one. There, you contemplate how you can, across diverse aspects, get 1% better. How can I improve my cash situation by 1% when buying? How can I improve my cash situation by 1% when selling? Or 1% faster, or keep the money 1% longer? A concrete example for us, we had opted for prepaid rather for technical reasons. Payment for the parking transaction occurs upfront. However, we already had the product roadmap plan to switch to post-payment, which is much more customer-friendly. And after the cash deal, we realized the massive impact of having access to that capital sometimes 2 weeks sooner. And as we continue to expand, this makes a significant difference. So we decided to make the prepaid process as convenient as possible while still maintaining the prepaid structure.
Early on in our company, we focused on establishing values, setting targets, and defining a vision. This foundational work played a crucial role as we navigated through the growth phases where we have grown from 5 to 20 employees. That's really something that gave us a lot of structure and stability. There is a common saying within EO, you reap what you sow. I always thought, yes, it's a nice strategy to tell everyone they must put in more, but after I myself went onto the board and have been on the board for 2 years now, I can completely relate to it and state that for me, this was truly the most crucial moment within EO where I was able to generate the greatest ultimate value precisely by taking the step to contribute and give more, thereby extracting more in return.
I always say, I found my boy group. We are now known as the Onions because we feel that Forum involves a process of unpeeling, much like onion layers. You are trying to reach the core essence, and so during our first retreat in Mallorca, we experienced a power outage and endured an extremely perilous hike. Where we had to come down the mountain at night, it was kind of an adventure retreat. And I thought, yeah, great, I just have a group, like a safe space. That was amazing.
Each forum possesses a distinct character. This means there are forums, where business is tended to be done more, and forums where business is tended to not be done at all, perhaps.
If entrepreneurs are connected and feel permitted to sell, then they will sell. I am unsure about you, but when I aim to appear very vulnerable and trusting, then I don't feel like being an acquisition target. We are not gathered here to conduct transactions. I believe this is one of the most significant aspects that we have to communicate to potential interested parties, and always communicate in the insights is to say, we are not a business club. I don't want to rule out the possibility that people from EO do business with each other. But that's not why we're here. It just happens sometimes by accident. None of our board members do this for profit. We all do this voluntarily. Because in the end, it is not a business club, but a trusted circle. It's more like a trusted self-help group.
It is not about us being at some kind of business card exchange club where you swap visiting cards, but rather I have, directly with all members who attend the events, a similar depth as with the people in the forum, even if I might have never seen some members or spoken to them anywhere. The first forum was, of course, very exciting at first because I naturally did not know the people who were with me in the forum, and I am used to slowly feeling things out when I meet new people, that you slowly ease into it. But our moderator at the time immediately said, drop your pants, pay off, and consequently everyone immediately opened up, developing a certain depth right in that first forum, which truly surprised me. Because there is simply this rule set at EO about confidentiality and depth. And you notice that, or I notice it very strongly at events. All members there have this depth, this confidentiality. That means I can open up very strongly at these events. It is common for speakers to delve deeply and reveal personal information that they may not share during other presentations, as events often provide a confidential and intimate space for such exchanges to take place.
And if everyone tells their life partners, children, or friends what the entrepreneur they might know from television just shared, then that person will stop sharing it. And then the entire trust, all the trust is gone.
We also do coaching at EO, which we call presentation topics or deep dives. These are always prepared. And you have an issue, then you meet with someone from a forum, prepare accordingly, and then present it to the forum, who then share their experiences in return. So not sharing solutions, but sharing their experiences. You can take what you want from it. But sometimes that also helps to deal with the problem. For example, also in my case, which I would like to share, to perhaps discover limiting beliefs that one did not even know that you have them. When I was establishing a sales structure for myself, I introduced it as a problem into the forum. I am building a sales structure and I want to scale it up a bit more. What does that do to my culture? How must I manage it? And so on and so forth. I presented all of that through the exchange of experiences from the others who then told how they manage it. It first struck me what kind of strong limiting beliefs I actually have regarding salespeople. That is somehow, why should they destroy your culture and why must you manage them differently than others? That definitely helped me to reconsider the entire matter and not just focus on one group versus another group or anything similar. Before I presented that, I didn't even know these limiting beliefs were there.
As a board member, there is also once a year a global leadership conference. That was in Singapore last year, for example. And I also found that incredibly inspiring again, because over 2,000 entrepreneurs from all over the world simply come together there and all directly these values. EO conveys this openness, the depth, the confidentiality. I felt so intensely in that whole room with 2,000 entrepreneurs, and I thought that was truly impressive.
I am chair for my EO, and I take care that all the members we have exchange their knowledge. There are always very, very, very cool events at EO. For example, you can have an EO event with Scott Galloway or Serena Williams or whoever. My role as my EO chair is to foster the exchange among our members, to promote, to ensure that people like you hold a workshop on film. I share my AI knowledge, which I usually sell at EO for free, to help other people. In return, they share their knowledge with me. We really have everything from where can I spend my money to help I have a crisis. Yes, and there is virtually no topic that is actually off limits. And to facilitate a confidential exchange among members outside of the forum, but truly unite the entire chapter, but also the global network, that is my task.
One EO event that remains strongly in my memory was the EO Unlimited in Hamburg. A major focus there is on how one can surpass their personal boundaries. Then I drove home and told myself I was signing up for a marathon immediately. On the train ride home, you get such a surge of motivation that you think, I can do this, I can do anything.
During my month-long stay in South Africa in January, I joined an EO South Africa WhatsApp group and was pleasantly surprised by the responsiveness of the members. It felt reassuring to connect with someone else from EO. Of course, I will meet up with them.
Upon meeting someone from EO, their immediate warmth and openness allows for a mutual understanding to be quickly formed between us. Every EO member I encounter shares the same welcoming spirit. Everything I'm about to tell you, you keep it to yourself. He doesn't even need to explicitly state that it's confidential, because I already understand. He can share everything with me. He doesn't need to say, it's secret. Keep it to yourself, but it's a given that it stays with me.
It's rare for me to go on a trip and not encounter someone affiliated with EO. At the point where you feel comfortable saying, hey guys, I'll be in Berlin next week and I'm up for going out. Does anyone want to check out some cool clubs or know of any good events happening? Don't worry, you will have an amazing party experience. I was in Singapore last year at the GLC, that is the global conference where all the chairs of all the chapters meet. 1,600 crazy people like us in one place from all over the world. We immediately know how to talk to each other. I know exactly how I can talk to that person. The person knows how I speak. And you immediately have a different quality of exchange. In Singapore, I encountered individuals who do things I didn't even know still existed. Got to know perspectives, where I think, oh my God, do I think small, what sick stuff they do.
When I think about setbacks or obstacles in my entrepreneurial career, then I don't even know where to start. These are issues that come up again and again, and you don't see them as obstacles anymore, but actually as opportunities to be solved. You have built a friendship with the problem, and at the same time, it is part and parcel of being an entrepreneur.
When I think about the learning curve I've had at EO, and if I consider that I had been enrolled in the Accelerator during the very year I achieved 250,000 euros in sales, that would have given me a massive boost forward.
So for me, the most important point why I also found it is self-determination, self-responsibility. I absolutely love having the freedom to pursue what I'm passionate about, to gather input from others and to exchange thoughts with people while still retaining the autonomy to execute my own vision. On the other hand, though, the impact when I have my own company is just much bigger. I see directly what I'm doing. When I place an order with our supplier, the product usually arrives within a few days. It may take a month or two before it hits the shelves in the supermarket, where a customer can spot it and make a purchase. That feeling is incredibly rewarding.
For us, we are now continuing with full focus in the roof region. My big vision is to build the 100 million company, so I still have a way to go, but it's also about me developing from this. I need to transition from being the founder who is so hands-on, mixing her own ice cream and then selling it in various cafes, to put it plainly, to the founder capable of leadership, someone who can achieve scale. That requires an entirely different skill set, and I feel that with the assistance of EO, I can develop myself exceptionally well because I observe how others operate and how they conduct their work, who are already leading bigger companies than me, or also through the network that certain coaches and so on can then help me, or I learn from others. I couldn't have a better network at my side.
When I look ahead to the next few years, I simply want to continue on this path, further improving my company and developing myself as a person. And EO is simply a relevant part of that for me.
I believe there are far too many people out there who doubt themselves, who would otherwise become damn good female and male entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is something diverse. And I think we should reiterate clearly that all of us at EO thrive because we are a very diverse group of different ideas, influences, origins, perspectives, and convictions. And it is this very diversity. Actually, that is what makes the value for me. But I believe that possessing this specific skill set as entrepreneurs, where our task is to imagine a great future, to cement that first and then step by step consider what we are doing to get there. That is a very important thing. When I say, as a visionary, I am able to experience genuine joy when I contemplate the future ahead. I feel joy for a future that I believe will be good.